In a small village near the river, there lived a beautiful girl named Adaeze. Her smile was as warm as the African sun, and she was loved by everyone in the village for her kindness and gentleness. Adaeze's father, Obinna, raised her alone after her mother passed away, and their bond was unbreakable. They worked hard together on their small farm, where Obinna taught her all the values of humility, respect, and love. One day, Obinna decided it was time to remarry, hoping that a new wife would complete their family and bring joy into Adaeze's life. But unknown to him, the woman he chose, Madam Nkechi, hid a heart full of envy and cruelty behind her gentle smile. With her came her daughter, Nneka, who was spoiled and unkind, much different from Adaeze. From the day Nkechi entered their home, life would never be the same for Adaeze. As the days passed, Adaeze began to feel the weight of her new family's presence. Nkechi, her stepmother, immediately took control of the household, assigning Adaeze more chores than she could manage. Despite the hard work, Adaeze remained cheerful, believing that her kindness would win Nkechi over. She would fetch water from the river, sweep the compound, and prepare food, all without a single complaint. While Adaeze worked, her stepsister Nneka would sit and watch, laughing as Adaeze did all the chores. Nkechi encouraged this, constantly praising Nneka and treating Adaeze as if she were nothing more than a servant. The villagers began to notice the change, and whispers spread about the unfair treatment of the once joyful girl. No matter how hard her stepmother tried to make life difficult, Adaeze's heart remained gentle. Each morning, she rose before dawn to complete her tasks, often finishing before anyone else in the household was awake. Even when her body ached and her hands were sore, Adaeze kept a hopeful spirit, believing that kindness was the strongest weapon she could wield. In contrast, Nneka became more spiteful and spoiled by the day, feeling empowered by her mother's favoritism. She mocked Adaeze's simplicity, often calling her names and flaunting the fine clothes Nkechi bought her. Adaeze could only smile, choosing not to retaliate, as she knew that her father wouldn't want her to stoop to such unkindness. One day, as Adaeze was gathering water from the village river, she met an elderly woman named Mama Ifeoma. Mama Ifeoma was wise and had a reputation for knowing the secrets of the land. She noticed Adaeze's gentle spirit and the quiet sadness in her eyes. Curious, she asked why such a lovely girl seemed burdened by sorrow. Adaeze hesitated but eventually shared her story with Mama Ifeoma, explaining her stepmother's cruelty and her stepsister's scorn. The old woman listened with empathy, and before leaving, she blessed Adaeze, reminding her that goodness would always prevail in the end. Her words became Adaeze's comfort on the hardest days. Madam Nkechi began to see Adaeze's kindness as a challenge to her authority. She decided to increase the girl's workload, assigning her the most difficult tasks in hopes of breaking her spirit. Adaeze was told to till the land alone, prepare all meals, and clean every corner of the house without help. While the other girls in the village were free to play and enjoy their youth, Adaeze worked tirelessly, her hands calloused and her feet aching. Yet she didn't complain. Each task reminded her of her father's teachings about endurance and hard work, and she held on to hope that brighter days lay ahead. Obinna began to notice the difference in his daughter. She was thinner, her eyes heavy with exhaustion, yet she said nothing about her struggles. Concerned, he approached Nkechi, asking why Adaeze seemed so overworked and unhappy. But Nkechi was cunning. She feigned surprise and said Adaeze was simply lazy and undisciplined. Though Obinna loved his new wife, he knew Adaeze's character well. He felt a shadow of doubt growing in his heart, and he resolved to keep a closer eye on his beloved daughter. Meanwhile, Nkechi plotted to turn him further away from Adaeze, hoping he would see her as a burden. One evening, as Adaeze lay under the stars after finishing her chores, she thought of her mother and whispered her troubles to the sky, hoping somehow that her mother's spirit would hear her. Unknown to her, the village believed that the spirits of ancestors often watched over those they loved, guiding and protecting them. As she lay there, a gentle breeze surrounded her, bringing with it the scent of her mother's favorite flower, the hibiscus. Adaeze felt a warmth fill her heart, as if her mother was giving her the strength to endure the hardships ahead. This quiet reassurance helped her rise each day with a renewed sense of purpose. One day, Nkechi devised a plan to further humiliate Adaeze. She instructed her to fetch a rare herb that grew only in the dangerous parts of the forest, hoping the task would be too much for the girl. Nneka laughed, confident that her sister would fail and perhaps even get lost in the woods. With no choice, Adaeze set off into the forest, determined to complete the task despite her fears. Hours passed, and with guidance from Mama Ifeoma's earlier advice, she managed to find the herb. When she returned home, tired but successful, Nkechi was furious that her plan had failed. Adaeze's strength and resilience caught the attention of a traveling merchant, who witnessed her walking tirelessly by the village river. Impressed by her humility and beauty, he offered her a small carved pendant as a symbol of good luck. Adaeze accepted the gift graciously, her heart warmed by the stranger's kindness. This pendant became a source of comfort for Adaeze, who wore it daily, feeling that it brought her closer to her ancestors and the spirit of her mother. The villagers began to see Adaeze's strength, and many quietly sympathized with her plight, offering her small gestures of kindness when Nkechi wasn't around. When the annual festival of harvest arrived, the village was alive with music, dance, and celebration. As custom, each family dressed in their finest clothes to honor the gods for a fruitful year. Nkechi dressed Nneka in the best of clothes, adorning her with jewelry and fine beads, while she gave Adaeze the simplest dress, hoping to hide her beauty. But Adaeze's inner beauty shone brighter than any jewels. She danced with grace and smiled warmly at everyone, making people forget her simple attire. By the end of the night, whispers spread about Adaeze's kind nature, overshadowing Nneka's jewels and silks. After the festival of harvest, Adaeze visited Mama Ifeoma to share the events of the celebration. As she spoke, her voice trembled with the mixture of happiness she felt from the villagers' kindness and sorrow from her stepmother's cruelty. Mama Ifeoma listened with a gentle nod, her wise eyes seeing beyond Adaeze's words into the pain she tried to hide. The elderly woman took Adaeze's hands in her own and reminded her, "Child, even the strongest tree bends in the storm, but it does not break. Remember, your heart is like that tree." She gave Adaeze a small talisman made of dried herbs and wood, whispering that it would protect her spirit from envy and malice. Adaeze thanked Mama Ifeoma, feeling her hope rekindled by the kindness and wisdom of her village elder. Nkechi grew angrier as she noticed the villagers' affection for Adaeze. She realized that no amount of chores or harsh words could tarnish the girl's spirit. Fueled by jealousy, she began scheming a way to ruin Adaeze's reputation in the eyes of the entire village. That night, she whispered her plans to Nneka, who grinned at the thought of seeing her stepsister humiliated. The next morning, Nkechi falsely accused Adaeze of stealing her gold bracelets, stirring up a scene in the middle of the village market. Adaeze tried to explain her innocence, but Nkechi's loud accusations drowned her out. While some villagers doubted Nkechi's words, others began to whisper and wonder if there was any truth to her claims. Adaeze returned home with a heavy heart, feeling the sting of betrayal. Adaeze's sadness grew as the rumors spread. People avoided her in the village, their trust shaken by Nkechi's accusations. She remembered her father's words about the power of honesty and decided to remain silent, hoping the truth would eventually come to light. She continued her chores with a quiet strength, each day finding comfort in the talisman Mama Ifeoma had given her. Meanwhile, Obinna, troubled by the rumors, decided to confront Adaeze. When he asked her if the accusations were true, Adaeze looked him in the eyes and, with a steady voice, assured him of her innocence. Her father saw the honesty in her gaze, and his doubts about Nkechi's words deepened. He promised Adaeze he would find a way to uncover the truth. Despite the coldness of most villagers, a few continued to show Adaeze small gestures of kindness. One day, her friend Kelechi, who a young boy who admired Adaeze's kindness, approached her while she was fetching water. He told her he didn't believe the rumors and offered to help her carry the heavy water pot back to her home. This small act of kindness lifted Adaeze's spirits, reminding her that not everyone had turned against her. She realized that true friends would always see through lies and deceit. Kelechi's support gave her the strength to continue her daily tasks with a renewed sense of hope, believing that kindness would ultimately overcome jealousy. One evening, as Adaeze sat alone by the river, she prayed for guidance, asking the spirits of her ancestors to protect her from further harm. She remembered Mama Ifeoma's words about the strength of the tree, and in her heart, she felt a new sense of resilience blossom. She decided to rise above Nkechi's cruelty and to show her strength by remaining true to her values. Adaeze's resolve became her armor. She walked through the village with her head held high, greeting those who had turned against her without bitterness. Her quiet dignity began to make the villagers question their judgment, and many wondered if they had been too quick to believe the accusations against her. Early one morning, as Adaeze swept the compound, she discovered a glint of gold buried under the dirt near Nkechi's room. She recognized it as the missing bracelet and realized that Nkechi had planted it there to frame her. Adaeze held the bracelet in her hands, unsure whether to confront her stepmother or remain silent, fearing it might cause further trouble. With a heavy heart, she decided to bring the bracelet to her father, hoping he would see the truth. When Obinna saw the bracelet, his suspicions about Nkechi deepened, but he kept quiet, wanting to observe more before taking action. Adaeze's honesty touched him deeply, and he began to see his daughter's strength more clearly. As the days passed, more villagers began to see through Nkechi's lies, noticing Adaeze's humility and honesty. Madam Nkechi grew increasingly frustrated as her plan unraveled. The more she tried to shame Adaeze, the more the villagers began to pity and support the girl. They saw the contrast between Nkechi's spite and Adaeze's resilience. One day, a wise elder from a neighboring village visited and heard of Adaeze's story. Intrigued by her patience and kindness, he offered to speak on her behalf, hoping his influence might restore her reputation. The village elders gathered and, with the elder's help, began to investigate the truth behind Nkechi's accusations. The village elders called a meeting, inviting everyone to witness the decision they would make about Adaeze's innocence. With the entire village gathered, Nkechi, filled with fear, tried to defend her false accusations, but her own words betrayed her. The elders questioned her about the bracelet, and she stuttered, unable to provide a convincing answer. One by one, the villagers began to voice their support for Adaeze, revealing small acts of kindness she had shown them in the past. Adaeze's innocence was proven, and the elders rebuked Nkechi for her jealousy and malice. They warned her that such dishonesty would not be tolerated, marking her words as a shame to the community. Obinna, deeply ashamed for not protecting his daughter sooner, apologized to Adaeze in front of the village. He promised her that he would never again allow anyone to mistreat her. His words brought tears to Adaeze's eyes, and she forgave him, understanding that he had been deceived by his desire to build a happy family. Obinna's love and protection restored Adaeze's confidence, and she felt a renewed sense of belonging within her family. Despite her forgiveness, she kept her guard up, knowing Nkechi's heart might not change overnight. Her journey had taught her to trust her instincts and to value the strength she had found within herself. As Adaeze resumed her daily life, her spirit shone brighter than ever. She continued to help others with a smile, and her kindness became a source of inspiration for the young children in the village. They looked up to her, seeing in her a strength that came not from power but from a heart full of love. Even Nkechi, though still bitter, was touched by Adaeze's forgiveness and unwavering resilience. Though her jealousy lingered, she began to see that her own bitterness had brought her shame. Adaeze's kindness had triumphed, and the villagers now celebrated her as a symbol of true strength and dignity. With her plans thwarted and her reputation in question, Nkechi found herself isolated. She spent many days alone, reflecting on her actions and the harm she had caused to Adaeze. Bit by bit, the weight of her envy and bitterness wore her down, and she began to question whether her jealousy was worth the loss of respect and warmth from the village. One evening, as she watched Adaeze help an elderly woman without hesitation, she felt a pang of regret. For the first time, Nkechi considered that her life could be more joyful if she let go of her envy. She wasn't sure if she could change, but the possibility lingered in her thoughts. With the support of her father and the village, Adaeze began to feel a new sense of joy and peace in her life. Each day, she woke up eager to contribute to the well-being of her community, helping the elderly, sharing stories with the children, and participating in village gatherings. Her resilience had not only won over the villagers but had also strengthened her spirit. One day, Adaeze joined a group of young girls to teach them a traditional dance, passing on the cultural knowledge she had cherished since childhood. The girls looked up to her as a mentor, and she felt a deep sense of pride in carrying her culture forward. She knew that no amount of hardship could steal the happiness she found in her heritage. The village elders decided to host a festival of gratitude in honor of those who had shown kindness and courage in the past year. Adaeze was chosen as one of the festival's honorees for her strength and grace in the face of adversity. She felt honored, humbled, and grateful for the love and respect she had earned. Nkechi, watching from a distance, felt a mix of emotions, admiration, envy, and a longing to belong. As she observed Adaeze receiving the community's blessings, she realized how deeply her jealousy had isolated her. She felt a small spark of inspiration to redeem herself, though she knew it would require patience and effort. One day, Nkechi gathered her courage and approached Adaeze. She found her in the fields, helping plant yams. Nervously, she admitted her jealousy and asked for forgiveness, acknowledging that her bitterness had caused more harm than she could measure. Adaeze, though surprised, listened to Nkechi's apology with an open heart. In that moment, Adaeze saw a glimmer of sincerity in Nkechi's eyes. She knew forgiveness was a path toward peace for both of them. With a gentle nod, she accepted Nkechi's apology, telling her that everyone makes mistakes but has the power to change. Nkechi, feeling both relief and remorse, silently vowed to let go of her envy and strive for kindness. As the days passed, Nkechi began making small but genuine efforts to repair her relationship with Adaeze and the villagers. She helped Adaeze with her chores, shared her own knowledge of cooking, and gradually opened her heart to the people around her. While the villagers were cautious at first, they slowly saw that her intentions were genuine. Adaeze, now surrounded by a loving community, felt a deep sense of fulfillment. She had transformed hardship into strength, and her kindness had brought healing to even the most wounded hearts. Together, she and Nkechi began a new chapter, one defined by acceptance, resilience, and unity, a testament to the village and to themselves that love could indeed triumph over jealousy.